by 2030. What's carbon? They're not talking about a green agenda. That's what they say. First of all, this Earth is blue. It's not green. If you look at the Earth from space, it's a blue. So if you really want to talk about this Earth and being true to it, it's a blue sphere. What's green? Green was here's a great story. Green was the emerald that was on Satan's turban, Lucifer's turban. Lucifer started a rebellion in heaven, tried to take over heaven. A war erupted. Michael took out his sword and he tried to kill Lucifer. Lucifer backed up and the sword came down, clipped off this green stone, and cut his right eye. This is why Satan can never go into heaven, because he's always one-eyed. Okay, you must be. He's going to have two. He's got two eyes. You must be one-eyed to make it to heaven. You must see as one, not two. Okay, so that's why in my last videos I show all these people wearing eye patches and scars all over the head. That references what's going on. Well, Satan uses his green emerald because stones have magical powers in them. That's why the 12 tribes had 12 stones, and the stones mean things. But Satan's was green, and this is why there's the term green with envy. It's because of Satan was envious. All right. So the color green makes no sense, but we're talking about carbon here. Okay. How do we move around in a zero carbon world? You see how they took a picture and there's hardly anybody on here? There's hardly anybody on this planet, because that's the goal. We are carbon. We're carbon. Okay, when you carbon test something, you're going and finding the date of something in the bones. You carbon test it because we're carbon. And Satan is telling you, we want to eliminate the people worldwide. He hates these angels. He wants to kill us all. So he wants to eliminate carbon. And when you break down, the number 666 relates to a carbon atom and man. Carbon is 12, and of the 5 elements in the human DNA, carbon composes of 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons. We're 666. We were born, the days of creation, Satan is number 6 when he created man in his own vain show, in his image. The number 6, that's why we're 666 in carbon. And Satan wants to wipe us out. It's now the time. What do you think all this stuff is right now? Okay? And why are they so forcing on everybody right now? We'll get to that in just a second. This is what you have. There's an actual photo of a raven on top of an eagle. Our government, just as in heaven, as above, so below. That's what Satan says. There was an insurrection in heaven. That one group of angels was made 2. Okay? Jesus, God, came down in the flesh as Jesus, right, to redeem us. You can't be redeemed if you were never deemed worthy before. The purpose of him was to make one new man from the 2 through Christ. But just as there was an insurrection in heaven, God came down to be the resurrection or resurrection. There's an insurrection going on in our country, if you haven't guessed, right? The same thing that was done up there is being done right here, right now. And by 2030, that's how they tell you, we want to get rid of all of this, all these carbon weirdos. Well, what can we do? Okay. It's in your money. This is in your money. Jonathan Kleck, God showed Jonathan Kleck this, and you make a pyramid, you turn it upside down, and all the answers to what's going on is in your money. There's the Twin Tower. Here's the arch. This is the arch. You see this building? It's the arch. And when you take this and you connect all the vertices, the angles, you get a star that's pointed down. The Star of Satan. The goat, that's called the goat head of Mindy's. Okay? And that's what's in our It says, spells Mason, Mason. And they make sigil they make the goat head of Mindy's. This is so unbelievable. You're going to see UFOs. You can see it right here if you have eyes to see. It just gets highlighted more and more. You're going to see these big-headed people, come whatever. They're going to be green, all this stuff. And this is what's going on. It's in your money. The money is ridden with this. This is fascinating. MDCCLXXVI. Okay? Let's break that down. MDCCLXXVI. Total 1776, right? Right? Well, let's take the M, the C, and the X. You got 1776 minus the M, the C, and the X, minus MD and X, is 1,110. If you take that from there, you get 666. This is the battle here. The DC and the LX and the IV equal those numbers, 666. This is even in the Australian money. They have these numbers, and when you subtract them, 4 from 7, you get 3. 5 from 8, you get 3. 6 from 9, you get 3. You multiply that by 2, and you get 666. Okay? 333 times 2, 666. It's in barcodes. These three numbers, 666. 666. It's in Chrome. The book, the ultimate book of magic and witchcraft. I told you that's a satanic thing. Now, I want to be very clear here because I showed this presentation to a Jewish guy once, and he thought I was getting on this anti-Semitic roll. Just the opposite of that. It's just the opposite of that. The evil ones in the system is the Muslim Islamic world. That's the dark world. See, Satan got into each religion. No one's above anybody here. Satan got into the Jewish people and cut them off at Jesus. Okay? They're just starting to find out Jesus now. But throughout time, they got cut off at Jesus. Okay? The Muslims they believe in a virgin birth. They believe Mary. They have a chapter in the Quran over her. They talk about Jesus. They just think Jesus is a prophet. Now, what kind of a prophet? A very special prophet. When the Mahdi starts World War III in the end days, okay? When the Mahdi starts World War III, that's when Jesus comes back down, but he's going to be on the side of Islam to overtake the infidels. That's what they think. Okay? Now let's go to talk about Christianity. I just showed you clip after clip of how the true religion is Jesus and Christianity, but Satan's got to muddy the water on that. And I just showed you, I don't know how many minutes of that in the Catholic Church that Satan is muddying the water. Well, it says in the Bible, Satan fools the whole world. Okay? It's the whole world. Everybody's fooled by it. Christians, Jews, and Islamists. Muslims. But they use this. They use this symbol. And here's how you break the symbol down. You got 6 points, 6 on the inside, and then 6 triangles on the outside. 6, 6, 6. This is how they break this down. The world is cut up into 33 sections in the United Nations. Now what's interesting about that is this. In Egypt, Orion was cut up into, not Orion, the king was cut up into 14 pieces. Okay, Set, his brother, cut him up, threw him into the Nile, found 13 of the pieces. The one piece Isis didn't find was the penis, the phallus. She made the obelisk, which is this whole story I've been telling you. But in the end time, Satan's he's going to find that phallus. They're going to put this whole piece back together again. That's why there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 pieces are going to be put back together when they own the entire world. There's going to be an antichrist, a one-world religion, a one-world government, a mark of the beast is coming. Otherwise, you won't be able to feed your kids and all this stuff. You're going to lose your house. And that's when the true Christians are going to say, it says you must give your life in order to get your life. You must give your life in order to get your life. The whole Bible is this. The whole Bible. The world we live in is this. You turn everything upside down, backwards and forwards, and this is what's going on. What happened at the end of time is going to happen, at the beginning of time is going to happen at the end of time. So you see these crop circles with the number 33 on this stuff. It's the pyramid, the all-seeing eye. Here, perfect example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 is the satanic number. The stars are pointed down. This has reference to the Nimrod in the Tower of Babel. They're building, and it says, Europe, many tongues, one voice. Okay? Many out of one. Many out of one. That's Satan's world. Satan was the one, and many came from him. That's why you have the pyramid and Satan's on the top. Many out of one. God's the cornerstone. He's the opposite. He's the cornerstone. And they're making it to look like an eye. You see the eye? Here's the eyebrow. Eyebrow over the eye. Right? Upside down cross, you got to remember. All right. It also forced people, great, small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive the mark on their right hand or forehead, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of his name. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the name of the beast for the number of the number of man. Remember, man's carbon, 666. That number is 666. If we go to the Strong's Concordance and we take that Revelation 13:17 and we find the word mark, take the mark of the beast, right? The mark of the beast. That's G5480. G5480, the mark. It means badge of servitude. Badge of servitude. Who are you going to serve in the end days? We're going to be given a chance. You can't force an angel to take this mark. You can't force them, but you can lie to them, manipulate them, try your best to persuade them to take this, right? But this mark is coming. For those of you that got this thing already, we're going to talk about that. That's not the mark of the beast, okay? But the mark of the beast goes in the right hand or forehead. So that's G5840, right? 5482, out of this same word, means, listen very carefully, to sharpen to a point, a stake, a palisade, a military mound, circumvallation, or a siege. We're in a siege right now on our country. A siege is you build, an army comes in and surrounds you and doesn't let anything in. No food or water or anything. What's going on our ports today? We're under siege by our own government. Okay? Now let's look at these. A stake, a palisade, or a military mound, sharpened to a point. A siege. Okay, with a military operation in which enemy forces surround a town or building, cutting off essential supplies with the aim of compelling the surrender of those inside. Here's a rampart. Okay, it's a wall. Look what they are. They're sharpened. They're sharpened. Right? That's what it says. Here's a palisade. These are palisades. They have different tips, but they're on a rampart, right? They have different types of heads to this, but this is what it is. Watch this, it gets better. Here's a stake. This is a stake. These are all definitions. So here's your palisade, sharpened to a point with the stake. That's going to go in your right hand or forehead. And the reason they wanted all the medical records, all owned by the government, they're going to say, hey, we're going to put this chip in you, and it's going to have your medical records and Social Security, and we're going to know no child will ever come up lost again because we'll be able to know exactly where they are all the time. That's true. And they're going to put, like I said, all your money, medical records, everything about you is going to be on this thing. And they're going to know where you are. You're going to be connected to 5G. We'll talk about that in a second. But what's that going to leave here or here if they put this thing inside you? What's that going to leave? Will it leave a mound? Yeah, that was the last thing, a mound. You're going to have a little mound right here. Right here. And this is a Walmart reader right now as we speak. There's Walmart readers you put your right hand in front of right now. We were within just a few years of this whole thing being overturned, right? Let's read that one more time, the definition. Sharpened to a point, a stake, a palisade, that's the longer one. The stake is the shorter one, that's the little piece of rice type thing. A military mound for a siege. It's coming, folks. It's coming. And I'm giving you the definitions, which has been given to me. This isn't my work. I just want the people to know about this. It's his work, Jonathan Kleck. I told you, it's his work. The Luciferase quantum dot COVID-19 vaccine, the Bill and Imelda Gates agenda. This is what this thing is called, folks. So the objective is this: you either take this mark, or there's guillotines that are all over our country. Has bought tens of thousands of these, and if you don't take the mark, then you're going to give your life. You're going to be beheaded. Okay, and look how they use Chanel, right? Remember the C and the C going backwards? They make the Vesica Pisces, right? Chanel. The C and the C going forward and backward. Blood. Georgia House of Representatives in 1995-96 session, right? Passed HB 1274 so that the House of Representatives, the death penalty is guillotine. It provides, the guillotines could be used to provide death sentence. This stuff's in law already all over the U.S. People don't know this. They don't know this. Okay? This guy, a guy made a movie telling exactly what Jonathan Kleck is telling us and what I'm sharing to you people. The government killed this guy's family, wife, kids, even his dog for telling about this state that's coming. This is what's about to happen. This is why 7-Up. Look at the red blood cell. And you get the stinger piercing the red blood cell with one upside down lime and a right side up lime. Lime and a lemon, whatever. Lemon, lime. One's up, one's down. 7-Up. 7-Up. What does 7 mean in the Strong's Concordance? Oh, to perish. Oh, you want to kill up. They want to kill up. Everything that's up, not going to be left. Because since the beginning of time, there's two bloodlines that have been on this planet fighting for wars. It's Cain's versus the reptilians versus God's red blood cells. And throughout the Bible, time and time again, since the beginning, Cain killed Abel. He wanted that bloodline gone, right? But then they had a brother, Seth. Adam and Eve had Seth, and that bloodline continued. But that bloodline is known as the Adamic race, even though Adam didn't have any kids. Excuse me, that's known as the Adamic race from Adam. His brother didn't have any, so he was killed. Abel was killed, he didn't have any kids. But it comes from the Adamic bloodline, right? But they're going to kill up. They want to wipe it out. And they use us for energy. And look at this, they're using us for energy. And even in the batteries, the system is this. The whole world is created in this system. Even when you put batteries in something, okay? They're going to use us for our energy. Genesis, watch. Okay, we're going to start getting into Hollywood here a little bit and showing what they do and say. So Esau and Jacob, they were twins, okay? But the children inside her struggled with each other, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So Rebekah went to inquire of the Lord. He declared to her, 2 nations are in your womb. 2 peoples are within you. You will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older, will serve the younger. Okay, when time came to give birth, there were indeed twins in her womb. This is always the case of the older serving the younger. Okay, and what it means is you can go look at Esau and Jacob. Jacob was the younger. He became more powerful than the older, even though the older had the birthright, right? He was the one that received the birthright. There was Ishmael and Isaac. Okay, Ishmael was the first one born. That race became the Arab population. Okay, and Jacob's race became the father. What it is if you haven't noticed, this world is about knowing your father. I'm getting confused here. Let's take a stop. Okay, so I left off talking about twins, and firstborns are evil, secondborns are blessed. Okay, Cain killed Abel. Firstborns are evil, right? There was Esau and Jacob. Esau gave his birthright away. Jacob was greater than him. He got the birthright. There was Ishmael and Isaac. Ishmael was a firstborn. He didn't get the birthright. Okay, he was born a bastard kid, and his birthright was given to Jacob. Right. So you could say, well, what about Jesus? He was a firstborn. He really wasn't the firstborn. God created, in this world, God created Adam first. He created Adam first. Adam sinned. And then Jesus came by second. See, there's a pattern to the Bible. The whole Bible is a pattern, and it never breaks this pattern. So you got to recognize patterns. Another pattern to the Bible is what we're in right here is a battle. We're trying to find the Father. We're trying to find the Father. We're always trying to find the Father. And those who know the Father, they're grounded, they're blessed. But look at the people in the Bible that don't know the Father. Ishmael was a firstborn, and he said, and God said, Ishmael's bloodline will be as wild as an ass, because they don't know the Father. If you don't look at the kids that are born today, if they don't have a father in the home, chances are they're going to be wild as an ass. You could look at the strippers out there. Most of the strippers you go to at strip bars, they don't have a father relationship. They're seeking the Father. Okay. Once again, the Father plays a major role in a person's life, and as you're seeking the Father, the people that don't know the Father, the Lord God, they're wild as an ass. They're usually doing drugs and doing all sorts of crazy stuff, But if you know the Father, you're grounded. You're a little less wild. You understand what I'm saying? But to hear let's look at Hollywood here a little bit here. When it came when the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. Once again, twins. We're talking about twins again, right? As there was birth, one of them put his hand out. So the midwife took a scarlet thread, tied it around his wrist. This one came out first, but it drew its hand back inside his mother, right? And then his brother came out and she said, so this is how you've broken out, okay? And he was named Perez for that. Then his brother, who had the scarlet thread on his wrist, came out, and he was named Zerah. Okay, so there was Perez and Zerah, 2 twins. One put his hand out first, and the midwife put a scarlet bracelet on it, and then it pulled his hand back in, and they reversed order and came out, right? Well, let's take a look at this real quick. All of Hollywood, the Kabbalah, they have the Kabbalah, the red string bracelet, all right? They put on their hands, showing who's on their side, right? Notice what you're seeing. Always. Boy, she's a big time. Always. See, they go to their parties and they wear their little thing. And what do? They're given the devil's sign and then the sting of death, right? With the red string. The red string. The red string. All the hoity-toities, the big ones that make it in the world, they sell out. They sell their soul. They sell their soul. Don't let Satan string you along. That's why that's said there. Look at all this. All the Hollywood stars. That's where the Bible verse where this comes from. They shook their hand, did a deal with Satan. Okay? Okay, so Matthew 6:22. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thy eye be single, thy whole body be full of light. If thy eye be single, thy whole body is full of light. You beat the system, so to speak. You're born again. That's what they're telling you. You see the world one way, both up, not this way. You're still blind when you're in this position. Okay, so I'm showing this biblical. To whom do you ridicule? Against whom do you make a wide mouth and stick out your tongue? Are you not children of transgression, offspring of falsehood? Sticking out your tongue and winking the eye. They're mocking us, going, you're a V and V, you're half. You see it? Big time. He's actually looking in a mirror. You can see part of him here and part of his shoulder here. He's seeing in a mirror, so it's a twin. They know exactly what's going on. The emojis, everything. They all stick out their tongue. They're all on the other side, the Citra Acra. They're sticking out their tongue because that's represents a dead sheep with the tongue sticking out. Okay? And they're winking your eye because you're half. Devil's horns, sticking your tongue out. Now that's sticking your tongue out. That's just not, that's really... Miley Cyrus, oof, God bless her, she's in deep world. Look at, why is it a beautiful lady sticking her tongue out and giving someone the finger? Why would you do that? Why would a lady do that? The devil horn, sticking your tongue out. The 50-50 piece, sticking your tongue out. Devil horns. Same stuff all the time. Winking your eye and sticking your tongue out. Why? Got you covered. Wink. The mask. All right. So there's signs you see all over Hollywood movies, commercials all over the place, right? So this gets interesting. Daniel 2:43. And where those sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave to one another, even as iron does not mix with clay. What are they talking about? Daniel was given a vision. King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and Daniel, who was this Jewish guy who was very pro Yahweh, he said the dream, what Nebuchadnezzar was. He told the dream without Nebuchadnezzar even telling him what it was. He says, yeah, I know what's going on. He says, you had a dream of a statue, and it had a golden head, a chest of silver, a waist of bronze, legs of iron, and feet of iron and clay. Feet of iron and clay. So, if we take this, we'll see how our pens are doing. So what we have is this. God created Adam first, right? He created Adam. I'm just going to draw a stick figure here. Bump, 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 bump. And then he created Eve, right? Created Adam first, then he created Eve. So he created, he didn't create. He formed. Genesis 2, God formed Adam first. He formed him from miry clay, and blew breath into him, right? And then from there, he created female. Okay? So, now at the end of time, Daniel, I just told you, the head of gold, the chest of silver. I'm going to put that up here. I got the waist of bronze. The legs are iron, and the feet, I'm going to draw feet like this and cut them in half. They're iron and clay. Iron and clay. So, he's giving us an example of how time's going to end here. He says, Nebuchadnezzar, yours is going to be the first kingdom. It's the first and the best. It's gold. Then he says the Persia will come in, and then Greece, then the Roman Empire. Roman Empire are the legs made out of iron. Then there will be the revived Roman Empire. We're the revived Roman Empire. Rome went down. Rome was Europe back there, and it got revived to be America, where Europe and us are part of the same system. And we represent, Rome is actually Britain and America, okay, the two. But the two are going to fall apart, as you can tell, in the very near future, because this is made out of iron and clay, okay? Well, on a periodic table, what's iron? What's iron? It's Fe. Fe. So at the very beginning of time, clay was made, and then iron and clay. Female, iron, they were made out of clay. And Eve became the Fe, the Fe, or the iron. She sinned. And at the end of time, iron and clay, once again, Fe. You see that even in the periodic table. This goes back to the periodic. God is telling us what's going on through the periodic table. Female, we were all made from clay, but then the Fe was made. And then this isn't going to, at the end of time, this system isn't going to cleave together. And they're talking about our time period right now. We're in the feet. We're at the end of time. Okay, this civilization, America, is not going to hold together, as you could clearly see what's going to happen right now and where we are. But we are the Fe. We were the sinners, right? Eve was a sinner, the female system, and it's not. So, Nebuchadnezzar, his dream was answered by Daniel, and here in the periodic table, iron is Fe. Iron is Fe. That's incredible. And this is why they have Iron Man, right? They have female. They're telling you, here's the periodic table for Fe. It's iron and clay. That's how it was. The original Iron Man. The original. That's why they're having movies now called Iron Man. Now what's that number? 2131. All right, just a second. I might have these out of order, but let's see. How long will thou go about, you backsliding daughter? For the Lord created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall encompass a man. At the end of time, a woman will encompass a man. What is a woman? Woman was the sin, the evil in the system. And this whole world is going to be, at the end of time, evil is going to encompass God's man. This whole world will be evil because God's creation is going to be beheaded and pushed off this earth, and the only thing left is going to be woman. Again, it's not talking about little boy peepees and girl peepees. It's talking about good and evil. God's using the term male as a representation of good and evil. And in the end days, you've got to take the mark of the beast. And if you don't take the mark of the beast, you're going to be beheaded. And that's when all the good goes, and everyone will worship the Antichrist at that point. You see that? And there's only going to be evil left. So, or the woman shall encompass a man in the end days. So, I lost this. Female. Strong's 2131. Stop that for a second, will you? Okay, I had a couple things out of order there I had to get, but it said 2131 on female, right? Female, it means victorious. Victorious. Their Iron Maiden, the iron and clay, Iron Man, that's going to be the victorious one in the end, they think, because evil, a female, will encompass the male. Satan thinks he's won this whole world and everything, but he's got another thing coming. There it is, 2131. All right? So, it's a matter of time. Here's the system. It's the Ouroboros eating itself, right? The system is cannibalistic system we live in. And remember, the female is the XX chromosome. That's why that's why the woman is the X, right? Female. And that's why a sand clock, what you do with this is as time runs out, what do you do with this? You take it and you turn it upside down. Turn it upside down. This represents angels. These grains of sand represent angels that fell out of heaven, and we're in this earthly system. And the only way you can get back here is through Jesus. Jesus represents this part right here. It represents this part. And if you look here, you got an X, right? You got a V up here and a V down here. And right there represents Christ. The only way you get back is through Christ. That's why the physical body, having sex outside of marriage and everything, it brings death. That's why women wear panties with a cross upside down. Satan is waiting. That's why they have scorpions tattooed all over their body, right? This is double letter 2. We're in a twin system. It says sin here. In this world, sin. S-I-N-H-E-A-R. It's 2. S-S-I-I-N-N. And it's the XXXY. It's the apple, right? Look at the little Satan's tail thing wrapped around her. And it says original sin. Original sin, the hard cider. See, it's everywhere. It's everywhere you look, folks. It's there. And this is why they use the female as the bug. There's a reason for this. This is why they draw little cartoons of this, like a man making love to a bug. You know, she's taking her top off. It looks like a bug. He's unaware. He doesn't see that. Okay, it's what's on the inside that counts, right? And this is why the church it goes about the bug and the penis on the altar and a bug's mouth and all that. This says protected by flow. Most people see a woman's face here, but it's really the scorpion stinger. It's really the scorpion stinger, and it's flow, the poison that's going to kill you. It's going to come out of that. That's what this means. And then you go to 1937 in the Strong's Concordance, and that means something. They have a language. This is why, look at the scorpion album covers. It's a female, right? And it's the scorpion on it. That's why they have this. It's all about sex. Virgin killer. Yeah, you get the hint? This is why Revelation talks about the scorpion from the pit with stingers on their tail. It's the female system. It's all about the moon god. Scorpion brings death, right? The female represents the moon. Scorpions, he's bad for good, right? Bad for good. Swapping. The scorpions, what did we want? We wanted a family. We wanted the sex. We wanted the physical. Okay? And it's built into us. It's in our instinct, right? And when we left, we find ourselves locked in jail now for the family. What we wanted. Scorpions, 2 twins, right? Red cover. 2 twins, one down. A raptor with earrings. It's a female. It's the female system. the reptilian system we're living in, right? It's what's inside that counts. You see this female and a demon, broken promises. Satan promised us, that we wouldn't die. That was the lie. That was the lie when we left and came into the female system. Satan means Lord of the Flies, right? Lord of the Flies. Well, what's a Venus fly trap? Why is it called Venus? Well, Venus. What's another word for Venus? It's the light star, the dark star, the two stars, right? One before and one after the sun comes up. Venus fly trap. We were put in a fly trap because he's Lord of the Flies. So a Venus fly trap. But that's why Miley Cyrus wears a trap on her vagina. That's why Miley Cyrus has this might be Lady Gaga, I think. One of them has devil horns. It says stupid. And they have a trap, right? Well, what was the trap? Well, look at what's this substance right here on her lip. It's the sex was the trap. This is why they have tattoos of a vagina with teeth on it. And they have a penis here and a penis here. There were two penises in the garden. There were two penises in the garden. That's what they're saying. That's why they have a Venus fly trap, but it's a sheep's head caught in the tattoo, or it's caught in the Venus fly trap. That's why they make tattoos and whatever the hell that is out of the Virgin Mary. They make it because of the vagina and the Virgin Mary. At awards shows, they're always mocking Mary. This is interesting. See, it's about bugs. And if you look here, you see this right here? This would be like a leg, and this would be the vagina. See, this represents this, and the leg. Okay, same here too, same thing. But when you open your arm, a bug comes out. Because we went for the vagina, and it could cost us our life. We go to the pit, we turn into a bug, this locust from the pit. That's what this stuff's all about. And here, and now, the teeth on a bug are called the labia. Labia. That's what a woman's vagina is called. They have two labia down there. And isn't it funny? And put your penis inside the labia, right? Well, Satan's on the biggest altar in the world. What's the altar? What's the chair of St. Peter going into? The mouth of a bug. The mouth. This is called labia on the mouth. It's the lower lip or the mouth. You see how this is all? I can't make this up. Here's the labrum. Okay? This is why these animals, right? You can see the labia right here on them. And these animals are really interesting. Well, first of all, they make them to look, they make steering wheels to look like these animals. Because as you're steering, a man's legs would be this way, but right in the middle of his legs would be his penis, which is right, if you look down, it's like going into the mouth of a bug. That's why they make that. Now, this is really important, and this goes back biblically. This animal, when it gets done having sex, turns around and grabs the male and then eats its head, decapitates it, right? Here's the steering wheel, your leg here, and your penis would be right here, going into the bug's mouth. If you think that's crazy, there it is in the Vatican. Oh, and they also make dead sheep. There's a sheep's head. Volkswagen does it. Of course Volkswagen would. There's the sheep's head, a dead sheep. But this praying mantis, it kills the bugs, right? It eats the head off the bug. And you can go back to the Bible on this one, right? The praying mantis continues eating this thing. That's why John the Baptist What did John the Baptist do? He was out in the desert eating locusts. Well, we turn into locusts from the pit if we don't get turned back. John the Baptist was cannibalizing locusts. He was eating locusts and honey. Locusts and honey. Honey is their word for sperm. You see how the whole world is upside down. And then John the Baptist got beheaded. He got his head chopped off. Oh, well, these things take the head off the male bug by their labia. This whole world is unreal. This is the biggest, this is the strangest story ever. There's your bug. Once again, there's your dead sheep. There's your bug. There's your dead sheep. When, again, at the beginning of the time, everything's upside down and backwards. 100% nylon. Jonathan Kleck said, God said, turn it upside down. 100% no lying. You can't lie. All this stuff I'm showing you, I'm giving it to you the way it was taught to me. Jonathan Kleck, I'm going to talk about Jonathan Kleck right now. He came out into an alleyway and was baptized. He went down a fire escape, and he said there was an angel there, Michael the archangel, or Michael the angel, and he said, pray with me, my brother. And they said an Our Father, and he says, water and light came down on him, and he was baptized. And he said he felt himself buzzing and glowing. He says he felt life like he never felt life before. And then Michael turned to him and said, now say a Hail Mary. And he backed up. Michael backed up. And he says as soon as he said the word, Hail Mary, he felt the life and light leaving his body. He said he knew it was wrong from the second he started saying this. So he was baptized. He turns and he goes out, and around the corner he runs into this church. And there's Christ, and it's got Adam and Eve and the serpent in the garden. And below this right here, I couldn't fit it in on the picture, it's got a guy throwing seeds. He's spreading the seeds throughout. And this is Jonathan Kleck's ministry. He goes home and he's told to get and magnify this poster. And it's a poster of ancient Egypt, and it says, Solving the Riddle of the Ages. And at the bottom of this poster, it says, The Gospel Truth. Right? So he gets this, he makes this, and he thinks he's losing his mind. He goes to the store to pick up some food or whatever he's got to pick up. And as he's standing in line, he's praying, he's saying, Lord, he's going, give me a sign. Tell me a sign that this is what you want. He says, this is too crazy. So he looks over at the rack right next to the magazine rack, and he sees this. He sees this, which is the exact same photo used for this. So Jonathan Kleck was the man picked to solve the riddle of ages, the gospel truth. And he says, right then I knew, boom, all right, I've got to do what he says, 100% no lying. Now, I can't make this stuff. I'm telling you his story. So, long story short, Jonathan Kleck was a professional skydiver. And he made sunglasses. And his tagline was from the Bible, but he didn't know it at the time. It was come out of the light and into the dark. Come out of the dark and into the light. Okay? And he made over $17 million. Sold more. He's in the Guinness Book of World Records twice for selling sunglasses and all this stuff. But he says he was so unhappy with his life because his friends were using him, this and that. So he just came home and just one day said, Lord, there's so many Jesuses out there. He says, I've got everything I want. I'm so, I should be happy. But he says, I just don't have, he says, I just want to know the truth. He says, I want to know I want to know who Jesus really is. There's 10 different types of Jesus out there. And the Lord answered his prayer. So, he's a professional skydiver. And the Lord tells him, I want you to make a canopy. And he says, put a V, 4, there's a 4 here, vengeance. And he says, put it this way and upside down going that way. And it's the vampiric system. You see how that says V for vengeance? You see the 4, 1 4 up and 1 4 down. V for vengeance, because the Lord is ready to take vengeance on the system, on what's going on. So he goes and listens to the Lord, and he makes his canopy. Now the thing about Jonathan Kleck is the fallen angels, when they fell, They were thrown to heaven on their back. Look at Lucifer and Google this, and you'll see these fallen angels they're thrown upside down. Okay? That's how he was doing his point of purchase ads. He was always falling out of the sky upside down, and he would have the fangs on and the glasses, right? Because he was come out of the darkness and in light. It was vampire sunglasses. So he was born to do this. He was born to do what he's doing. And he then was told to go to the desert and make a jump in the middle of nowhere. So he listens to God, and he puts this is his little LZ, landing zone. He puts this mat with this X on it. And he says, by the time he got in the plane, jumped down, a rain shower had washed down this river, half of the riverbed. And half of this is clean, and half of it is dirty. So by the time he landed, the water was gone, but that's what he landed on. And that's what we are. We're half clean and half dirty, right? He's walking out of the riverbed, and the Lord says, stop. He says, look down. And he says, there's trillions, it's a riverbed. He says, there's just trillions of rocks. And he says, the Lord says, pick up those 2 rocks. So he reaches down and he picks up those stones, and they were the same stone. They were split in half, and you put one on the other, and it was a perfect match. Somehow they were split, divided right in the middle, and the Lord told him to pick up those 2 rocks out of trillions of rocks. This is another analogy of this. I've watched him for 20 years, and 20 years he comes up with story after story after story after story like this. This isn't just one freak story. Every day you turn him on, and there's something else crazy like this happening, right? This could only be the truth, what's being shown. So, to move on, he was told, the Lord God told him to make 2 containers, right? It's the same what he told Noah. Noah made a wooden container, right? A big boat. He says, make 2 containers. And he told him a specific design and all this, and then he says, we're going to move those containers to a place in Colorado called Grand Junction. The big coming together, Grand Junction, right? So let's read this a little bit. Jonathan Kleck is the angel of the Church of Philadelphia. It's the end time church. It's the remnant of the church that's going to get saved, and they're going to be put in one of these containers and shipped off. Okay, this is what this whole thing's about. And he that had an ear, let him hear the Spirit said unto the churches, and to the angel of the church of Philadelphia write, these things he has said that is holy, that is true, that has the key of David. He that openeth, and no man can shut, and shutteth, and no man can open. Right? God's making a pact with him. So he makes these containers, right? And he places them down. One is the bride of Christ that's leaving, and the other is the judgment seat. We're going to get judged. People are going to get judged. And as he's driving, he comes upon a truck, and in the back of a truck, it's talking about Jesus, right? It's got two of them, and then this, the world. Boom. The world has been turned upside down. He says he just comes upon his truck, and he sees this. So he documents it. He documents all this stuff. There's no way this could happen. Right? So here he's in Grand Junction, and he's put these 2 canisters together, and they put them at the corner of Casimir and Rainbow. God gave a promise that he wouldn't flood the earth. That's what the rainbow represents. He wouldn't flood the earth. So he made a rainbow. Okay, a rainbow is also what is over the throne of God. There's a rainbow. That's why Satan brings the rainbow in with all the New Age meanings to it. All right, which, anyway, it's another story in itself. But Casimir and rainbow. If you look up Casimir, it means proclamation of peace. So he made these things in Texas, had them shipped up to this, and he's supposed to make a jump out of this plane, right? And inside, remember, we were beings of light. So he made this thing with lights, and he took a grinder and grinded what God wanted him to grind into the world. And then he puts these lights on that rotate, and you see all these lights moving, making this. And he says, put 2 doors in the back. One is the death, and if you turn death upside down, it's life. So we're going to be judged, and we go one way or the other, right? And there's meaning on these walls, on what is all said in here. I'm not going to get into the whole thing. But on one side, there's a big wave coming over the whore of Babylon, okay? In New York City, you're going to see a massive wave in the very near future. And on the other side of the wall, he has a picture of Jesus, and all these doves which represent angels. These birds represent angels. They're going to be going away during the rapture. The rapture's coming. Destruction is coming. The system is over. Okay, so he's driving home from this, and God told him to go a certain way, which wasn't the big highways. He's taking little 2-lane roads. And God's bringing him through all these towns, and he comes to signs saying, the king is coming, right? He went through Eden, Texas, next to a speed limit that says 5 and 5, right next to it, right? These things are happening all the time. He drove past this, Jesus getting ready to blow the shofar, right? And he documents this. And then he comes and he says he's going through a town, and there's a 5K race, and this is the finish line. And we're crossing the finish line. So, that's all I have on this one. Let me go to this. Again, this is Jonathan Kleck's videos.